I am Becky Madujemu. Thanks for your time. Happy Father's Day to all good dads. Thanks for being an inspiration to your children and the example to follow. We have reports celebrating fathers. There's no better time than today to hail and praise loving patriarchs. As for updates, there are several rape cases we are tracking. The police will present the latest on those, and you will see what concerned persons and groups are doing to reduce the incidence of rape in Nigeria. Our third segment is mostly about the growth in local technology. Although the coronavirus pandemic is a challenge, there are still activities in all sectors and subsectors. I can't wait to show you what some young Nigerians have done with a tricycle. But we always present the news first. Reading tonight is Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak. Hello, Claire.
Becky, thank you. And of course, it's Happy Father's Day to all fathers. So let's begin from the National Assembly, which says it strongly supports President Muhammadu Buhari's quest to bring to an end insurgency and banditry in the country. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, made the remark while conveying the concerns of the Senate on the state of security in the country to the President in a meeting. State House correspondent Jide Onifade was there.
Senate President arrived in the official residence of President Muhammadu Buhari to deliver the message of other members of the National Assembly. Among issues at stake is the worrisome security challenges in the country. The immediate action being suggested by the Senate include increase in funding of the military to intensify the fight against insurgents and bandits. As Senate President Ahmed Lawan says, the present efforts of the military is not enough in protecting lives and property of Nigerians.
And we believe that the Senate and indeed the National Assembly is positively disposed to receiving even supplementary budget, purposely to address the fundamental needs of the security agencies of our country so that we are able to empower them, enable them to fight the Boko Haram in the northeast, banditry, and other security challenges across the country. So this is one. Secondly, we also believe that in the Senate, particularly, we believe that we need to provide more resources for recruitment by the security agencies.
Stressing that the country has no option than to address the security challenge more than any other, the Senate President made references to the huge amount and palliatives provided by the government, organizations and individuals as interventions to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Such attitude, he says, must be replicated in dealing with insurgency and banditry.
Those who are heading these agencies, especially the service chiefs, must sit up. They must sit up. In fact, we must have milestones and timelines on how we are going to deal with this. We can't just go on without any time frame for dealing with these issues. If after we provide some support and someone is found short of expectation, he should be shown out of the way if he refuses to go. Because the lives of Nigerians are so precious and therefore must be more important than any other consideration or sentiment.
On the sideline, President Muhammadu Buhari and the Senate President discussed the crisis in the ruling APC party.
By the grace of God, in a very few days, we will see certain actions that will be taken. The situation must not be allowed to degenerate further than it has. And I believe that we must go into our constitution, the constitution of our party, and see how we are to address this. But we must not allow the situation to continue as it is today.
The meeting between the President and the Senate President lasts for about an hour. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And the Nigerian military says its subsidiary Operation Long Range, being conducted by the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole, has continued to yield tangible results in a series of air strikes targeting terrorists at Budla, Bello and Ngoske on the fringes of the Sambisa forest in Borno State. A statement by the coordinator, Defense Media Operations Major General John Eneche indicates that the air interdiction missions were executed on June the 18th and 19th, 2020, sequel to credible intelligence reports indicating that the terrorists had resumed use of the closely linked settlements as staging points to launch attacks against friendly forces locations and surrounding civilian settlements. Accordingly, Nigerian Air Force fighter jets scored devastating hits on designated portions of the terrorist hideouts, as well as neutralization of several of their fighters. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, commends the ATF for their dedication and professionalism. And President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Nigerians as the country becomes wild polio virus free. He also appreciates partners, local and international, for their relentless efforts in ensuring the Clean Health Bill. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, the President says this achievement is not only one of the great successes of this generation of Nigerians, but also a pride of his administration, which has been consistently investing in the health of Nigerians. The President notes that the polio-free status is a hard-won battle spanning over 3 decades of hard work and dedication by all key players. President Buhari also acknowledges the immense contribution of state and local governments, as well as traditional and religious leaders who mobilized communities to accept immunization and other government programs. An Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, has disclosed a number of incentives lined up for resident doctors in the country by the federal government. Anthony Forson reports that this was a major outcome of a media briefing here in Abuja.
The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, explained that it is pertinent to note that issues raised by the resident doctors while issuing their ultimatum have received or are receiving full attention, ranging from personal protective equipment and implementation residency training program. The sum of 4 billion naira has been provided with the backing of the National Assembly, while the Federal Ministry of Health is interfacing with the Salaries, Income and Wages Commission to build a template that will fit into the 2021 budget.
This is a responsible government, and it has acted responsibly to avert this needless strike. Many options were open to the federal government in tackling the strike, yet it has chosen negotiation over confrontation, as you can see in the efforts we've made so far to meet the demands of the association.
The federal government has also paid the sum of 9 billion naira as premium for group life insurance to all health workers and an additional 4.6 billion naira as special hazard allowance. There is also 50% consolidated basic salary for doctors working within COVID-19 facility and 40% for doctors working in non-COVID-19 facility. There is also 10% consolidated basic salary for non-health workers, 20% allowance for health workers directly managing COVID-19 patients, among others. Minister of Health Osage Ehanire and that of Labour Chris Ngigi were passionate about the role of medical practitioners in this era of COVID-19.
The intention of the government should not be misunderstood. So therefore, the rights of all doctors and health workers will be protected by the Ministry of Health by all means and in all ways. But in all of that, we must not forget the rights of citizens to their own lives.
The health workers are in the front line, so they have this cover. They also have covers of extra top-up group life insurance from the PTF, the donations given to PTF by some insurance companies. And we're also arranging to give them Employee Compensation Act for any injuries or infirmity sustained in the course of work, including even death, fatality.
The Association of Resident Doctors had, upon the expiration of their 14 days ultimatum, embarked on the strike on the 15th of June. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has directed members of the union to resume work on Monday, June the 22nd. This directive follows the suspension of its indefinite strike during an extraordinary virtual meeting of its National Executive Council officials. A statement signed by NARD President Dr. Aliyu Sokumba says the association resolved to suspend the lingering strike following intervention from the Nigeria Governors Forum, Speaker, House of Representatives, and government representatives and other key players. And 2 people have died from an accident involving a petrol tanker and a truck laden with 33,000 litres of natural gas on Kara Bridge along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway this Sunday. 2 other victims were said to have been injured, while some articulated vehicles were also damaged. Abolade Salami reports that a cordoned-off accident scene is causing untold hardship to road users.
The fuel tankers laden with 33,000 litres of PMS and an articulated truck conveying natural gas were said to have rammed into each other as a result of poor visibility experienced during the early hours of Sunday. What Lagosians should have described as a Black Sunday was averted following the response of emergency responders who put out the fire from escalating.
The articulated vehicle, the one carried 33,000 PMS, they were reckless. They were competing with each other, and that is what led to the collision. But however, that's a preliminary report. We are going to do details report to ascertain the real cause.
The injured were rescued by the community members around the area based on their eyewitness accounts. So they said they rescued them. One of them had his clothes torn.
The bridge that serves dual purpose for vehicles plying in and out of Lagos to connect Ibadan and other southwestern states is on a total lockdown following the incident.
We've been able to manage the traffic. The Lagos State Emergency Management Agency were on ground with their fire service, supported by the one from Ogun State. So you can see for yourself that the fire is already subdued and the traffic is flowing gradually.
Whereas the fate of motorists and commuters coming in and moving out of the metropolis is now hanging in the balance. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
All right, let's turn our attention now to COVID-19. And last week, Nigeria recorded a total of 99 deaths from the virus, just as the world saw a sharp spike in infections. Joyce Ometo reviews the global scourge as a new week rolls in.
With nearly 20,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and more than 500 deaths, Nigeria saw a consistent increase in infections in the past week. A review of data by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC shows that Nigeria registered a total of 4,126 new COVID-19 cases last week. Despite the spike in new cases, 1,617 infected persons have recovered, while 99 died from the virus during the week. Currently, 19,808 cases have been confirmed in Nigeria, 506 deaths and 6,718 treated and discharged. At the continental level, figures published by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. local time reveal 301,045 confirmed cases of the virus in Africa, 7,972 deaths and 146,030 recoveries. The latest figures show an increase of 64,392 new infections in 7 days. On the global scene, record by Johns Hopkins University as at 6 p.m. shows 8,974,885 infections, 467,817 deaths, and over 4.7 million recoveries. The total number of cases worldwide rose by 1,058,388, with 34,623 new deaths in the past week. In the meantime, Spain has ended its 3-month state of emergency, allowing tourists from the EU and Britain to visit the country.
And a report from Germany says more than 1,000 employees at a meat processing firm have tested positive for coronavirus. In India, coronavirus cases have jumped by 15,413, the biggest daily rise in the country since outbreak. And that's it from here. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Umetu.
Still quite alarming there. Now, a new date for the reopening of airports across the country is yet to be announced, but key players in the industry say the extension will enable operators to efficiently and consistently implement health protocols that would guarantee safety. Michael Olaleye reports from the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos.
Flight operations were initially scheduled to resume today, but put on hold due to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority's stance that the skies will be opened until operators and service providers can guarantee safe, secure, organized and efficient service delivery in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here at the domestic wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, the entrance gates remains shut.
Now, it is now for us, which we have been doing, to go back to the system, gather all the restart plan of all the stakeholders. And having gathered all the the restart plan of the stakeholders, then we are now in the process of reviewing. And in the course of reviewing, there are areas where the authority, NTA now, feel maybe such organization should do more of one thing or the other. And until that is done, when we can be submitting a conclusive report to the federal government.
Although the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria FAN has spelled out various preventive measures like foot marking and ensuring social distancing and seating arrangements, but the responsibility is now on airline operators to meet up with NCAA guidelines.
From the tables shown to us yesterday, the MM2 terminal in Lagos is ready. So if the MM2 is ready, then we can start with the MM2. We don't necessarily have to wait for the GAT before we can start Lagos operation. If MM2 is ready, if it's only a 3 flight it can do in the let us start something.
A report is expected to be submitted by the NCAA to the Minister of Aviation on a new resumption date for flight operations put on hold on March 23. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
And the Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, and officials of the World Health Organization, WHO, have expressed satisfaction with the standard and world-class facilities provided by the Akwa Ibom State government for the fight against COVID-19. Dr. Ihekwazu made the remarks when he led a delegation from WHO on a working visit to the state.
On arrival, the team's first port of call was the isolation center at the Multi-Specialty Hospital, where Dr. Ihekwazu interacted with members of the COVID-19 team and also inspected different sections and facilities at the center. He also had a brief stopover at the Emergency Operations Center located within the Dakada Secretariat, Uyo. At the recently inaugurated 300-bed capacity isolation center in Itumbang, Dr. Ihekwazu and officials of WHO inspected the wards, laboratory section, and the molecular laboratory.
Coming to Akwa Ibom today has really been such an eye-opening experience for us, both at the Ibom Specialist Hospital and at this EOC that will be opened on the 23rd of June. This would probably be the best EOC in the country.
We are quite pleased and impressed with the human resource capacities in the state for case management as well as the lab.
Speaking on behalf of the state government, Chairman Akwa Ibom State COVID-19 Management Committee, Dr. Emmanuel Ekuwem, said Governor Dom Emmanuel has always given priority attention to the health of the citizens and remains committed to ensuring a healthy state.
That this was of encouragement given to us, that we would have some parts of it monetized, for the good of the fight and the good of our struggle against COVID-19.
In Uyo, Susan Asukwo, NTA News.
Now, the NNPC termed Oil and Gas Industry Intervention on COVID-19 train has arrived Owerri, the Imo State capital, in preparation for a groundbreaking ceremony for an emergency and infectious disease hospital. Leader of the delegation and Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, says the initiative is in support of government's resolve to contain the spread of coronavirus in the country. Lydia Sampson tells us more.
The effects of the oil and gas industry support in the fight against COVID-19 has continued to touch more states of the Federation. Apart from the NNPC, other participants in this initiative include international oil companies, indigenous petroleum producers, major oil marketers, crude oil and product traders, depot owners, and petroleum product marketers.
This infectious disease hospital is not expected to serve only Imo State, but is to serve the whole of the Southeast and beyond.
The total commitment to this initiative is estimated at $58 million, which is equivalent to 21 billion naira. The JMD NNPC Mele Kyari stressed that as a responsive and responsible sector, the industry must play its part in further strengthening the Nigerian health sector even beyond the pandemic.
Because we are getting the optimal support and understanding in Imo State, and also at all risk, and I'm sure my minister will stand with me on this, is that Mr. President has insisted that we must put projects to Imo State. Imo State is one of the most peaceful operating environments that we have. I would like to put this on.
We have been working as the members increase very astronomically, and it therefore means that we can no longer fold our hands and work.
Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodimma applauded NNPC and its partners for the intervention across the country.
My debt of gratitude goes to President Muhammadu Buhari, whose initiative brought the Nigerian oil and gas sector, ably led by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and SEPLAT, to graciously agree to erect this befitting medical edifice.
The NNPC and partners, including Seplat Petroleum Development, had made similar donations to Rivers, Lagos, Kano, Borno, and Delta states. The NNPC says this initiative is outside the regular corporate social responsibility initiative being deployed by the corporation and participating companies. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now, it's no longer news that the world has been grappling with the impact of COVID-19 with far-reaching impact that significantly affects the education sector. And that's as schools have been closed down in more than 190 countries. Now, despite uncertainty over an end to the pandemic, national governments are planning on how to reopen schools, but not without noting the unprecedented challenges to be encountered in the sector. Our correspondent Rashidat Mustafa Olagunjo seeks actions to be taken to mitigate long-term impact.
This is what has become of the government-day secondary school Tudunwada Zone 4 area in Abuja. Animals have been filled there as the school remains closed due to COVID-19. An estimated 46 million students are staying at home in Nigeria, a development that made players in the sector to call on government to ensure that education top its recovery plan, with more investments in the sector to improve learning and teaching.
If education is a priority, then the budgetary procedure should reflect that priority. It's as simple as that. You have to improve your budget from where it is now to about 25-30%, because education is central to everything.
We must find a way in which our teachers, must function, as I said, within a digital environment, and ensure that, they are computer literate, they are digitally sound.
Similarly, government and parents are also urged to ensure that disadvantaged students do not drop out of school due to socio-economic and financial barriers, to avoid increase in numbers of out-of-school children.
Efforts are being made along with our international development partners to see how do we ensure that the enrollment drive, the encouragement of parents, the involvement of school-based management committees, is increased to a point that we can get most of our children back to school. We need to address the infrastructural deficit very, very, very seriously in terms of power to our schools. in terms of broadband that needs to be put in place. And I think it has to be a national project.
The fact that the pandemic threatens a whole generation of students, experts are advocating more effort to bridge digital gap and make children's rights a reality for every child. The consensus is that no child should be left behind and no child education should suffer as a result of the pandemic. Rashidat Mustafa Olagunju, NTA News.
Now, all is now said in Edo State for the governorship primary election, and the APC committee has issued guidelines for members of the All Progressives Congress APC in the state and the general public. Now, the guidelines signed by the secretary of the committee, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, stipulate that the process of election of the candidate of the party shall commence at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, June 22. At the various wards in all the local government areas with strict compliance with Edo State's extant law prohibiting gathering of more than 20 persons. Now, furthermore, not more than 18 persons, including presiding officers and independent National Electoral Commission observers, shall be at ward voting centers at any point in time, while simultaneous accreditation and voting shall be done in batches until all eligible members have cast their votes without violation of the state's COVID-19 regulations. Now, the committee enjoins not more than 18 persons to be in attendance for collation and announcement of results at all ward centers and at all levels, including the state collation. Now, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has approved the continuation of the screening appeal panel on Edo governorship election. A statement from the party's National Organizing Secretary, Austin Akobundo, says the committee is mandated to consider appeals arising from the screening of all aspirants for the upcoming 2020 governorship election in Edo State. The 13-man appeal panel has Senator James Manager as chairman, while Ajibola Muraina is to serve as secretary. Now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, has condemned two outrageous criminal attacks in Accra, Ghana, on a residential building in Nigeria's diplomatic premises by unknown persons, in which a bulldozer was used to demolish the building. In a Twitter handle, the minister said that Nigeria is engaging the Ghanaian government and demands that urgent action be taken to find the perpetrators, while also providing adequate protection for Nigerians and their property in Ghana. All right, let's pause for a while now and take a look at Sports Update with Amansi Marcos.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, weekend led top officials of the ministry and officials from the Federal Capital Territory to inspect the Moshood Abiola National Stadium ahead of its renovation. At the Package B section of the stadium, which has the indoor sports halls, outdoor games facilities and the swimming pool, the minister ordered illegal occupants to vacate on or before July 15 to give unfettered access to those ready to fix the sports facilities. Meanwhile, the Katsina State government is reminding all residents of the state of the ban on all sporting activities, which is still in force because of the coronavirus pandemic. A press release from the State Director of Sports, Nalado Iro Kankia, threatened sanctions for those who patronize viewing centers, play football or exercise in gymnasiums for violating federal and Katsina State government restrictions meant to halt the transmission of the coronavirus. In football, poor results after COVID-19 restart in La Liga has led to the sacking of Real Betis coach Rubi. The club, in a statement, revealed the coach who guided Espanyol to 7th last season had been relieved of his duties, with sporting director Alexis Trujillo, a former Betis player, taking over for the remaining 8 games of the season. Betis lost 2-0 to Sevilla, drew 2-2 with Granada, and suffered a lone goal defeat by Athletic Bilbao on Saturday. In athletics, tributes have been pouring in since the death of President of the European Athletics Association, Sven Hansen, who passed on at 74 in Oslo. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe said they have lost a popular and effective president who was in the vanguard of globalizing athletics. The former head of Norway's Athletics Federation failed to recover from a stroke he suffered in March. The Sports Update, Manzi Marcus, NTA News.
Right, let's quickly check the weather forecast for Monday. We're done with the news from here in Abuja. We'll return you back to Lagos with Becky in a moment.